Hard Knocks debuted the 2021 season last night on HBO. I watched it, featuring America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And it's funny, this morning, USA Today had a headline, 5 takeaways from Hard Knocks. I started reading it. I'm like, what am I reading this for? I don't need your 5 takeaways. I got a couple. Number one, I was not the biggest Dak Prescott fan. I think people that watch this show know that. I'm less of a Dak Prescott fan coming out of watching this show. What a whiner. What a whiner. Look, I understand you want to take every rep. I get it. You can't take every single rep. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He was very upset
that he couldn't.
That he was pulled early in this training camp a couple weeks ago because they want to give the backups some work. Danny Bonaducci, the backup quarterback. Well, Ben DiNucci's his name, but I call him Danny Bonaducci, which means nothing to you, do you? He's the star of the Partridge Family. Anyways, that was one. Dak, come on, stop whining. Let these other guys have some work. And then, of course, he ends up getting hurt. 2, the biggest one was Jera. When he was talking to the team, I thought it was the head therapist. You said it was the team doctor.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
Yeah. So he's writing with an HB pencil these notes on Dak, talking with the medical staff on the phone. And we all take away different things. But my thing was this. He's eating a McDonald's Egg McMuffin, Jera Jones. And people are saying, well, what's odd about that? He's worth $7-8 billion. How did he not have a Red Seal chef at his ready? You know, here you go, Mr. Jones. You know, with his choice, an omelet station.
Yeah, exactly. He's got Benedict or something like.
Right. An omelet station, a guy cutting a roast at the end of the table. Jerry, when you're done with the trainer, we have your choice here of ham, roast beef. Do you want that in your omelet, Mr. Jones?
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
So my brother worked at the wild animal park. So one time my brother came home and he was just rattled. He was spraying down the monkey cages and the gorilla cages with the water. Gorilla reached through, grabbed my brother by the ears and clunk his head against the bars. And my dad's like, how did you get free? And my brother goes, I took the hose and just sprayed him right in the face. Let my brother go.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Another true story. They're all true here on the RP Show. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new week. Hope you had a great weekend. You're here, so clearly you survived it. We're coming at you on the Game Plus Television Network and live streaming as well. If you're listening on the podcast form, howdy do. Let's bring in the Moose, the other half of this program. It's a very big day today. We have 13-year NHL veteran and analyst Rich Sutter joining us on the week of the NHL trade deadline, and we have 5-time Canadian women's curling champion Rachel Homan going to be joining us live. Those both guests are coming up in hour 2, so clearly it's a busy day, Moose. Let me just, it feels like forever, frankly, to me, since we've been on the air. So what's happened in your life since we've been on the air?
Yeah, it has been a while. As you know, was up in Kitchener calling a game, which was a lot of fun. Game went to overtime, so having a lot of fun getting back to the rink. And busy weekend. And you mentioned Rachel Homan. Been watching a lot of the Brier is on as well, and good to see. We always root for Saskatchewan, our hometown. So Mike McEwen, undefeated. Ryland Kleider's doing good. And there's your Brier update.
That is in our Quick Six show topic. So, guys, can you hit the Quick Six show horn? And we'll get down to business. We are like Canada's part in the interruption, where we talk about the things that those guys don't talk about on ESPN, but the same format. And the first point we always talk about is the big story. And I think Darren would agree, coming out of the weekend, it's the National Hockey League. These are some of the games from Sunday. William Nylander scored 60 seconds into overtime, and the Toronto Maple Leafs beat Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-5 Sunday. Nylander, Austin Matthews, and Matthew Nyes each had a goal and an assist as Toronto won their 5th straight. In Raleigh, Sebastian Aho's fifth overtime goal of the season came 3:16 into the extra session as Carolina defeated Calgary 2-1. Nazem Kadri's power play goal 7:06 into the third snapped the Flames' scoreless streak that reached 171 minutes and covered parts of 4 games. 60 of those minutes I saw here in Sunrise on Saturday when the Flames were here and lost 3-0 to the Panthers. By the way, Dustin Wolf made 31 saves. And in a game not involving Canadian teams, in Vegas, Devils' leading scorer, Jack Hughes, went down with what appeared to be a serious injury. With 1:48 to go in New Jersey's 2-0 loss Sunday night to the Vegas Golden Knights. Devils coach Sheldon Keefe says he doesn't have an update on Hughes as we go to air here today. So as far as the games go, it was a pretty wild weekend of NHL hockey, Darren. I think you would agree. You and I tied again. So we enter the brand new week at 74-74 in our breakaway bet segment that we do, everybody. Darren and I make the picks on a nightly basis. We don't put any money on it. It's just like you played with your kids when you were a parent, when you were with your parents when you were a kid. It's so much fun. Those were the games. I got a million stories tippling out of those. What are yours?
Mine, one. I only have one. It was Dan Vladar for me. He was in net Saturday afternoon as the Panthers were just having their way with the Flames. I was in the second period, and they had fired 65 shots towards the Flames net. They hadn't all got to Vladar. And then there was the one where he kind of got bumped, and he flopped back in the second period. And I think he was more like, I'm just going to take this off. But then he got up on his side, and he made this save. We weren't sure if the puck was in the net or not in the net. It was close. But I think they cut to Paul Maurice on the bench. And here's what I think Paul Maurice was thinking. This poor guy has been working his bag off all day. I'm not even going to think about challenging it. He deserves to have that save on his record because Paul Maurice knows, right? We're going to get a couple more past him later. But it was like, uncle, enough is enough, boys. We need to play a little defense in front of Dan Vladar.
Actually, it's funny. He was out of his head. And I was watching the game in the press box. This is funny. So that, okay, this is how this show is different than all the rest. That's why people are here today. Because they get what they don't get anywhere else. A couple things. I mean, number one, the shots were at one time 28-7 for the Panthers. So that's like 4-1. And I was sitting beside a pro scout who's a longtime friend of mine. And he's like, he goes, Christ, I came here to scout the Flames offense. They haven't got out of their own end for 2 periods. The Panthers had their way with the Flames on Saturday. And you're sitting there going, are they who we thought they were? But they still are holding a playoff spot as we enter a brand new week. They have no business being in a playoff spot in March. So kudos to Ryan Huska. But the tough thing for the Flames is they need to play perfectly every game. They can't have any mistakes. They can't have any passengers. And for the most part, they haven't. Because you look at the Oilers, who were here on Thursday and lost to the Panthers, and Chris Knobloch said after the game, we had too many passengers. And that should infuriate Oilers fans, and I'm sure that it does. Flames fans can be proud of this effort on a night-in, night-out basis. But furthermore, watch your toes, Darren. Put on your heart your steel-toed boots, because I'm going to drop some names here. After the game, I went down into the Panthers dressing room. We were part of the media contingent there, and I said to Sergei Bobrovsky, I have it on tape. As an old goalie here, I said, Bob, I have it on tape if you want to see it. I should have pulled it and played it on the air. I said, Bob, when did you realize you were in a goaltender's duel and that you were going to have to shut the door to win this game? And he looked at me. He's like, it was not a battle. He was standing on his head, and I did what I did because of my guys. He kind of laughed like that. I love Bob. He could spit in my eye, and I would think it was the greatest thing. But Vladar was making Bob like say, you notice the reach back with a paddle of a stick. You talked about the diving oh man, it was something to watch, but still somewhat disappointing. Yeah, that's a good one. And it was great to spend some time with Sergei Bobrovsky. He's such a cool guy. But yeah, he's like, no, he will not take any credit for anything he's ever done. Never. You could light him on fire, and he would not say he did anything. It's all about his teammates all the time. That's why I believe he's the best goalie on the planet. But we're going to move on before we start a holy war. Now would be a good time to actually drop the poll question. It was worded differently on YouTube than the way I've worded it on Twitter. And I'm going to go with mine, if that's okay, because that was my intention. For EMJ Marketing, They will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event or MC. Look them up at emjmarketing.com and ask for Joe. My poll question is, should leagues stop playing the national anthem prior to games? The way it's worded on YouTube is it okay to boo at games, which is a big difference. But I would like to say, have this as the question. Should leagues just stop? And my vote is yes, they should stop. Now, having said that, I don't know what's going on in elementary schools. Where I grew up, we sang O Canada every morning, and we said the Lord's Prayer. I'm pretty sure they got rid of the Lord's Prayer. I don't know. I'm guessing they did. Do they still sing O Canada? I'm all for having it in schools, but not at the games. Why? And just so you know, I can't remember if it was the Oilers game or the Flames game. One of the games, they were playing the Canadian national anthem here in Sunrise, and some jackwagon, some jackhole started booing, and like 5 people turned and said, "Shut up!" It was very audible. So it's like there's a jerk in every crowd. But I would say let's just end it. Why even do it? How about you?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this. I don't really know where I stand because I love the tradition of, okay, the anthem and the game. I heard one floated that let's just play the anthem of the city we're in. So if we're in the U.S., if we're in that country, let's play the American anthem. If we're in Canada, let's play the Canadian anthem. But I'm okay if we get rid of it and just reserve it for whether it's big games like the Super Bowl or maybe the Stanley Cup final or even just international play. I'm okay with that because it's become more of a distraction, I feel like, than anything right now.
I'm just saying, what does it serve? Okay, Brent from Wellington, Florida. I'll see you tonight, Brent. He writes in and he says, don't take away tradition. But that's happening everywhere, Brent. So I knew, because we had another poll question. It'll be tomorrow. They're great. They're bangers as far as poll questions. I knew this would get everybody. This would be like if we were watching The View right now with Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and all Elizabeth Hasselbeck. This is something they would talk about. This is the sports realm. I'm just sitting here saying, why are we doing it? To be honest, I think the only time you should do it is international play for the winning team, right? When the guys and gals have their arms around each other and they watch the flag go up and you sing. Here, again, why? To be honest, I think it could go away and nobody would really notice within a month or two. I'm not joking. Now, I've gotten to be close friends with the Panthers anthem singer John Acosta. He also sings at the soccer games here. I was just with him last week. I don't want to see those people lose their job per se. Already saying umpires should lose their jobs. I don't want to piss off the anthem singers. But I don't know. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the Lord's Prayer is still in Catholic schools for sure. It's also at our 12-step meetings. You all need a lot more God in you. You all need Jesus. But that's a topic for another time. I don't even know where to go from here. I literally don't know. You're saying don't get rid of the anthems. Or you're saying
I think so.
Only for the country that you're in.
Yeah, like I think it needs to be tweaked. I do. It's become numb doing it every single game. So I think some change is needed. So I'll vote yes.
I mean, you know, Brent says don't get rid of tradition. And for sure. I mean, we were in Chicago in January and that dude was singing from his toes. It was a Saturday night. United Center was sold out. It was Vegas at Chicago, and the walls were vibrating. It was sold out. And that guy, he was giving it his all. Hey, it's awesome. It's not that I don't like it. I'm just, again, wondering what purpose it serves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can continue this as we roll. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, writes in. He says, I hate to say it, but stick a fork in the flames. 1 goal in 9 periods and an OT. Vancouver's not much better. He says the door's wide open for St. Louis, Utah, Anaheim, and Seattle to make a wild card move now. Well, for sure, and actually that would be a good time to move on to point 2. Like the other thing coming out of the weekend was the trades. You go to rodpeterson.com. There's an NHL trade deadline primer up there right now. Of the 32 teams in the NHL, Darren, 25 are either in a spot or within 4 points of a spot. Here we go again. Last year, it went down to the final day of the regular season. Here, this might even be better. This might even have more teams engaged for longer. And with the trade deadline coming up, we've talked about this a lot on the program. We did a lot last week, and we're going to do a lot today. Rich Sutter's coming up in hour 2. But this is where GMs earn their money, man. This is where they earn their money. And Seth Jones, you were talking before we went to air about him and Aaron Ekblad on the Panthers' point. Seth Jones will play tonight. Elliot Friedman teased the story last week that the Panthers were talking with Chicago about getting Seth Jones, and then Saturday night he broke the story that they got him. He's going to play tonight. We're going to be there for the Battle of Florida, Tampa Bay at Florida. Tell you, man, Bill Zito's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. I believe that. What do you think about that deal?
Yeah, I think it's a good one, and it shows, the Panthers are serious about contending again for another Stanley Cup. And, Seth Jones and $9.5 million, people will look at the contract and kind of their eyebrows will go up. But when you look at where the cap is going, up over $100 million or $116 million or wherever it's projected, $9.5 million is not going to be that much, right? So not really that scary. It's the same thing with the Braden Shen conversation. He's under contract, for a few years. So the cap hit, not a big deal long term, but this makes them really good on the back end. I don't know what it does in terms of limiting any additions they can make up front, if they want to make additions up front, or what they do behind Sergei Bobrovsky with Spencer Knight being gone. But this makes them serious and a front runner again. People are talking about a repeat, and why not?
We've been talking about it here since last summer. Welcome aboard. Darcy in Grand Prairie writes in on the Progressive Insurance text line 902-518-3033. Switch to Progressive and you could save a bunch. Darcy in Grand Prairie says, completely disagree about canceling the national anthems. Just feeding the woke monster. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. It's not going to be up to me, I don't think. So we're all just throwing our opinions on the table here, okay? Bill in Brantford, Ontario writes in. He says, I watched the Kitchener Rangers play Sarnia Friday night. Darren did a great job on color analysis of the game. Darren. Signed Bill in Brantford, Ontario, the home of Wayne Gretzky. What did I tell you? I hope you don't mind me telling the folks. You said on the weekend, should I do color or not? That's not really my thing. I said, you can do color, so do it. You know how many of these guys can't? The guys doing the play-by-play or the hosting, you know the game. Hockey and football, you should be doing color. You can do it all, bro. You really,
Thank you.
I've seen you do color. You've done it for me, right?
Exactly.
Nice.
I was going to say, right next to you.
You got viewers in Ontario, Darren. Did you know that?
Well, I do now. And thanks, Bill. I appreciate that. And keep watching. I'll be back on the 14th, back in Kitchener.
How about that? That is just fantastic. BW in Edmonton writes in, he says, in Philadelphia, they don't play some old lady singing God Bless America. That's Kate Smith. Look it up. Kelly Bruce writes in, who is the national anthem singer. Kelly Bruce writes in, he says, keep the anthems. Okay. Do you remember when there was a strike at CBC back in 04, 05? You may or may not remember. You were still in high school. Remember that? There was a strike at CBC. So for the CFL games, they had no announcers. They just put a camera on the game. And I remember somebody saying, the hell was the guy's name? He's a buddy of John Lynch. Paul Klinger. Paul Klinger said, he goes, I loved it. No announcers. Let's keep that. Let's keep doing it that way. I was so pissed off at him. I tore his strip off him. Oh, thanks a lot, Paul. Now here's me saying the same thing. Okay. Don't move, Moose. We're only 2 topics into the Quick Six. We'll be right back. We're live here on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are.
sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
It may take weeks, months, or even years to get the call to be a stem cell donor. Saving lives takes commitment and dedication, just like being a hockey player. Give hope to patients in Canada. Register online at blood.ca/getswabbed and spread the word amongst your family and friends. Game day here in South Florida. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in town taking on the Florida Panthers. It is the Battle of Florida, 7 p.m. at Amerant Bank Arena. The Moose is with us, and we're diving right back into... We just paused for a brief stop here on Game Plus TV, and then we're right back into it, Moose. But let me throw a couple things out here before we get into the anthem stuff, the NHL stuff, and more. Point 3, NBA, Canadian, and former Raptor Kelly Olynyk scored a season-high 26 points and 9 rebounds, and the visiting New Orleans Pelicans used a 15-0 fourth-quarter run to defeat the Utah Jazz 128-121 in the NBA Sunday. Kelly Olynyk's not with the Raptors anymore? Shows how much I'm following. But I'm trying to stay on top of football, hockey, and baseball, and I can't stay on top of everything. I'm glad I went down and watched them play in Miami here last year. What?
I got NFL Network on over my shoulder, and this is the thing. I'm with you. Trying to stay on top of everything, my mind was playing tricks on me because they're talking about Deebo Samuel and the trade to the Washington Commanders, but nothing can be finalized until the new league year on March the 12th. But weirdly, I was getting that confused, and I don't know why, with the NHL. Jones trade happened. I asked you if he's in the lineup tonight because in my mind, I'm like, well, wait, March 12th. You got to wait till March 12th. I'm like, why do you got to wait till March 12th? You're in the season. So anyways, it just played tricks on me for a minute.
Unbelievable. Point four, there are 5 unbeaten teams after 3 days and 6 draws at the Briar in Kelowna. Defending champion Brad Gushu and Manitoba skips Matt Dunstone and Reed Carruthers lead Pool A at 3-0. Mike McEwen of Sask leads Pool B at 3-0. Brad Jacobs of Alberta 2-0. The Canadian Men's Curling Championship continues Monday at Prospera Place with 3 draws. Okay, back to where we were. Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in and he says, is Bill Zito taking a page out of the Kelly McCrimmon book by putting Matthew Tkachuk on LTIR? Well, there's a guy that I know and follow here. Colby Guy is his name. He's a reporter for the Panthers. He runs his own website. It's called pucksandpalms.com. And he's put here on Twitter that it doesn't really say that Matthew Tkachuk's been put on long-term injured reserve. He's been put on injured reserve. That's it. Well, I'm just running with the fact that he's on LTIR. I don't know. If Stephen A. Smith can be wrong on ESPN, why do I got to be right? You know what I mean? It makes for a better story. So it sure looks like the Panthers are doing what Vegas did and Tampa Bay did on the way to winning Stanley Cups, right? Stashing Matthew Tkachuk on injured reserve, even though he's healthy. The report that I saw is that it's going to save the Panthers 8.7 in cap space as long as Tkachuk is on whatever injured reserve he's on. So is this going to be the next thing, Darren, that all hockey fans are going to hate on the Panthers because they're just doing what McCrimmon and the Lightning, was it Yzerman or Bree? Oh, it would have been Yzerman, did before everybody else?
Yeah, that's naturally going to happen. Whenever somebody is doing it and they're a good team, people are going to think they're cheating and all the rest. And, let's be clear here. When the players are on injured reserve, they don't get their paychecks either. They get a little bit of an injury settlement or whatever insurance is available, because there's that too. But it's different. They're getting paid, but also they want to play. And league doctors have to assess the players too and understand where the injuries are at. So, yeah, it's very convenient, very, very convenient. But, it's just part of the game, and you got to get over it.
Oh, boy, but will they?
No.
B. Henderson writes in from Winnipeg, and he says, the Panthers got fleeced. A first-round pick plus a really good young goalie for $9.5 million D-man on the downside of his career. It's funny. I was on a Panthers podcast yesterday, the Panthers Fan Den, hosted by my friend Bill. And we're dissecting this trade and who won it. And he was the guy. Normally, I was in his shoes. Usually, I'm the one saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. How do we decide today who won the trade? Even played a game yet for Florida. Spencer Knight sure the hell hasn't for Chicago. We're not going to know probably for a few years at the very least until this spring to see if the Panthers win a Stanley Cup with Seth Jones and what was his role in it. So, yeah, I got sucked in like everybody else. That's how immersed I'm getting in the NHL coverage world and fandom, Darren, in that everybody wants to declare a winner immediately. And that's wrong. Shame on me. You know how that is.
Well, yeah, I do. The trade is interesting. I used with you the bottle of water situation where a bottle of water is worth, 60 cents in the grocery store. It's $1.85 in the vending machine. It's $8 on the airplane. Well, you're at the deadline and you want to win a cup. And if you need the players now, a little more urgency here, you're going to pay a little bit of a higher price. Cool. And also, let's remember, defensemen typically mature later than everybody else. So at 30 years old, he should and is still in the prime of his career. From that 27 to 33, 34 is the prime for an NHL defenseman. And then you see the decline. He's in the prime, and they're trying to win a Stanley Cup. So you pay the price you got to pay.
One thing Bill Zito is going to realize, if he hasn't already, what Bill Belichick is known for some time, what I know, you ain't never, ever going to be able to put your feet up and have people go, he knows what he's doing. It doesn't happen. Bill Belichick won 300 games and 6 Super Bowls, and people thought he was nuts that he had nobody on his roster coming out of training camp at the quarterback position a couple of years ago. Remember that? Which, by the way, if you read my Weekend Things column, I tried to listen to Bill Belichick's podcast, Let's Go. It's the former Tom Brady one, as you know, which is kind of ironic that Bill Belichick's on it now. Let's Go. It was awful. Saturday morning is a wasteland for radio, just so you know. That's when people should be listening to old Rod Pedersen show podcast because there's nothing to listen to Saturday mornings. I'm sorry.
It's like listening to your accountant read your tax return statement from 2023. Well, Bill Belichick. Like, hello? Yeah. Great coach, sure. Not a broadcaster. Shy in Saskatchewan writes in. He's all worked up about the political climate. He says, one place I would not want to live in right now is the United States and be in sports. Well, Shy, stay where you are. We'd all be, just stay where you are. Just stay there. That'd be the best thing for everybody if you just stayed where you are. Regarding singing the anthem, which I honestly didn't think that this would be as big of a Pandora's box as it's turned out to be. We got anthem singers writing in here. I suggested maybe it's time to get rid of the anthems, and Kelly Bruce, who's a friend of mine, just lost his lid. I could tell by reading his comment that he lost his lid. Like I did when people suggested we get rid of broadcasters, play-by-play guys. So I get it. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and says, was anything funnier than the egomaniac singer in Vancouver skating around the ice and tripping? Number one, I believe that was in Penticton at a Young Stars game or an exhibition game. It doesn't matter. Maybe it was Vancouver. Doesn't matter. The Canucks singer, I don't know what you mean by egomaniac. The guy's ripping around in a tuxedo and skates, singing "O Canada." Yeah, he took out the red carpet. He never missed a damn note. Sorry, I just kicked the camera. I'm getting worked up. He never missed a bar of "O Canada." That's a pro to me. What do you mean an egomaniac? And we'll never forget it. I salute that some bitch. How about you?
Yeah, wild. Like that's a guy, dedicated to the craft when you're going to keep going, trying to do something different, entertain the fans. When you're doing that anthem, what is it, 41 times a year, plus preseason, plus playoffs, it gets stale. I get it. You got to keep things fresh. So tries to mix it up, goes for a little skate and biffs it, but he kept going. I like it. Composure.
Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in and says, who's going to be the first NHL player to go down on one knee during an anthem? He says, I agree with saving it for international events only. That was my idea. No hockey player is ever going to go down on one knee during the anthem. It's not going to happen. That's the difference between hockey players and football players. It's hard to believe that I spent a lifetime in each because they couldn't be more different. Utah Darren writes in and he says, living in the U.S. right now is not good. Speak for yourself, bro. God, what a pissy party today. Seriously. Okay, well, let's see what else do I have here as we continue to roll, Moose.
Let's be honest. Stuff. Living anywhere is good. It's good. It's only bad if you let it be bad. It's all mental, right? And it's all what you consume and where you let your brain go. Period.
It's what you make it. It's what you make it. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, hey, Rod, booing anthems is for bush leaguers. Oh, I agree. But some jerk water started booing the Canadian anthem here last week in Sunrise. But everybody attacked him. That's the thing. If you see something, say something. Regarding Darren's multi-talented broadcast career, viewers watched him doing OHL games on Friday. Brother Sasko writes in on the Progressive Insurance text line. He says, hey, Pastor Pedersen, I agree. If Moose took a P test for excellence, it would be excellence. Play-by-play, tell her he's a Wadena Army knife. Moose for Prime Minister. Well, they're digging you today, Moose. Don't let it go to your head. I know you won't.
Not a job I want.
What?
Not a job I'm looking for.
What?
Prime Minister.
To be Prime Minister?
Yeah. If I was, I'd be like Kiefer Sutherland in that show Designated Survivor. I'd be an independent.
I'm not sure how this came up, but BW writes in. He says, that's what I was doing while trucking across the Canadian Shield. Oh, I see. Getting caught up on RP and Dr. Jordan Pedersen podcasts. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, it was Saturday morning. I'm like, there's nothing on the radio that I want to listen to right now. And I can't think any podcasts because Mike Florio was off all week. He's still off, right? I don't understand it. We're here every damn day. I might have, and you might have finally surpassed Director Jordan for having done the most RP shows. How about that? Director Jordan did more RP shows than you and me.
How about that?
He's not with us anymore. He's not with us anymore. He's twisting wrenches on John Deere tractors. But just saying, we're here every day. I don't understand. Like, there's this radio show on ESPN Radio. I think it's called Greenie and Friends. I tune in from time to time, and Greenie's never there. I'm like, how about you don't call it Greenie and Friends? Let's call it something else. Mike Greenberg.
He's done with it, by the way. Did you see that?
He's off the radio?
He's done the Greenie and Friends or the Greenberg show. It's gone. And because of NFL countdown and all the rest. But he said he's going to come back to it down the road. But yeah, it's over.
Right. And if you believe that, John Ohm writes in, he says, Rod, remember the anthem singer that butchered the Canadian anthem in Vegas when the CFL had the Las Vegas Posse? Do I remember it? Listen, we're going to have break here, but yeah, Casey Parks was his name. How they dug this guy up, Vegas lounge singer, to come in and sing "O Canada" when the Saskatchewan Roughriders visited the Las Vegas Posse. And it was just before my time coming into the CFL. I want to say it was 1995. But I was at Craven Country Jamboree in the campground listening to the broadcast with my very best friend from the crib, Chris Winkler, the all-time leading scorer in Kindersley Clippers history. And we got the hatch open on the car. Might have had a couple Pilsners on ice. And we're listening to the broadcast. We looked at each other. And we're listening to CKRM, Jeff Courier and Tom Terry. And they stepped aside to play the national anthem of this Saskatchewan and Vegas game. And we're sitting there in our lawn chairs, cowboy hats and shorts and boots, going, what the hell is this? And they still play that, Casey Parks. How would you like to go down in history as the worst anthem of all time? That's what he owns, right? I'm not wrong in saying that?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. It was to the tune of "Oh Christmas Tree." Like, it's crazy.
Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Which, by the way, the other night at the Panthers game, they had the lyrics of "Oh, Canada" going on the board. And I'm like, dang, nabbit. Arlen Bruce was right. His name is in the anthem. Because at the top of my head, I couldn't really remember the lyrics. I've only sang it 8,000 times or heard it. But our home, our land. Somewhere in there it says our land. He's right, Arlen Bruce. We'll be right back, okay? Don't go anywhere, everybody. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcast.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
I got to ask if you've got a winter birthday in your house, and if so, is that boy or girl obsessed with hockey? Then look no further and make tracks down to Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary to throw the best birthday parties in Cowtown and area. It's RP Show approved. 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Just a snapshot away from the old Crossroads Flea Market. Let's please bring the Moose back in as we just continue to roll. I said to Darren at the outset of the program, it felt like it had been forever since we've been on the air. And yeah, it does feel like forever. If you don't mind, I'm going to delve back into the text here, the Progressive Insurance text line, because we got people together from all over North America, but primarily Canada today. And by the way, can I get a note to the guys in the Game Plus control room, if you don't mind, guys? Is this a day where I see that Game Plus is airing on one channel, basketball, but on another channel, the RP Show? Is this a day where we're on the air in USA only? Or are we on the air in Canada only? Just let me know. It shouldn't matter, but for some morbid reason, it does to me. So Chris in Heidelberg, Ontario writes in on Game Plus TV. He's watching, and he says, we were at the Sens Sharks game Saturday night in Ottawa. There was a fair number of people booing the U.S. anthem. Guys, your captain is American. I do realize it's not at the players, but wow. That's why it brings up our poll question today. Should the leagues just do away with playing the national anthem? Interestingly enough, over 73% of respondents early on this morning on Twitter said, yes, they should do away with it. In the last 40 minutes, it swung to 50% are saying, 73% said no, they shouldn't get rid of it. Now 57% say yes. So I don't know what's turned the tide here. I guess my question to you is, do you think they ever will be like Brent in Wellington, Florida said, don't screw with tradition? Bro, what are they doing to honor tradition other than singing the anthems now? Everything's been toasted. I don't care about tradition.
I know. The anthems, I mean, it's part of tradition, but also it can change, and I'm okay with it changing, but at the same time, I don't want to lose what the anthems mean to us. And that, you know, and I guess part of somebody would ask, well, what do they mean to us, right? Like, what's the significance? But I don't want to lose the anthems, but I think it can be looked at and be changed, and we can still honor the anthems, you know, in special occasions.
Carlos in Indianapolis writes in and he says, how often do they air it? Seems like you have to be in the stands to hear it most of the time. It doesn't matter how often they air it. That's got nothing to do with it. I feel like now they are showing it so people can pick out who's booing and who isn't. But I'll tell you what, for the Four Nations face-off, which, by the way, I'm telling you, everywhere I go here, and this is South Florida, people are asking me about Four Nations face-off. My office mate across the hall here, Don Caligeris, asked me about it. I got a massage on Friday from Jackie, 68-year-old grandmother. She's all over it. And I said, are you a hockey fan, Jackie? She goes, nah. She goes, I wasn't. She goes, I'm born and raised Florida, but it was everywhere. It was all over the news. She goes, I watched. It was cool. Hang on there. Just back to this. Okay. I'm very open-minded. You know that. I can be convinced to look at another perspective. A lot of people cannot. I wish people would work on that trait because it's a good one. You're a lot happier when you open your mind. Trust me. But so I've changed my mind. I said we should get rid of the anthems. I'm swinging it. I'm changing my vote. Thank God we're not behind a curtain checking a box. I'm allowed. Some of the greatest sports memories are of botched national anthems. In this, Casey Parks in Vegas singing before that CFL game there in '95. This brings it up again. Rich in Edmonton says the good old Vegas posse. Jeff, the Stamps fan, has responded and said, coached by the great Ron Meyer. Listen, Darren, Jeff Reinbold was on that staff. And just over a year ago, I was in Vegas with Reinbold. And I said, hey, you coached here with Vegas in the CFL days. We were at Super Bowl, but I said, what? Tell me some stories. Reinbold literally just gave me this look like he'd seen a ghost. And Reinbold was just a kid at the time. That was 30 years ago. He'd have been in his 20s, maybe early 30s. He said that head coach, Ron Meyer, would be on a heater at the some craps table on the strip at 1 p.m. And I think Reinbold was rooming with him. So Reinbold, for home games in their own town, and Reinbold's, hey, coach, we got practice. And Meyer's like, wow, you run it, kid. I'm on a roll. And anyway, and Reinbold's like, he's my boss. What am I supposed to do? Yank him off his stool? Oh, he told stories. Oh, my God. Now, full disclosure to those watching, Darren was born in '87, so you'd have been like 8 when this was going on. What do you remember about that Vegas expansion time in the Canadian Football League?
I remember watching a little bit. Like, that's my earliest real memories, is like that mid-90s and that year, that 95 year. Because it was 95, it was in Saskatchewan, right? It was Huddle Up in Saskatchewan, and it was Calgary and Baltimore. And I remember Tracy Ham and Mike Pringle playing for Baltimore and doing their thing. And, it was Doug Flutie and Dave Sapunjas and, the Calgary Stampeders. But I do remember San Antonio and some of these, the Texans and some of these different teams, the Vegas Posse and all the rest. But all that stuff, the gambling, the behind the scenes, the wacky stories, that never made it to a kid. Me, it was just all about the football, the Danny McManuses and the Fluties and those guys.
I don't want to let you go for this next segment, but we will. But I remember it well. I was working in the league at that time. I wasn't a play-by-play guy, but I loved it. That's why I wanted to expand to the U.S. again. I don't think that's probably ever going to happen, but there was a time, was when Kohan was the commissioner of the CFL. I used to tell these stories all the damn time, and I got a call from the league office. I don't mind saying, Jamie Dykstra, you know him. He was like Kohan's right-hand man. And he's like, Rod, would you stop talking about the U.S. expansion years? Stop writing about it on your website. I'm like, what? Why, Jamie? It's part of our history. It's part of the family. He goes, we don't want to remember it. It's an embarrassing part of league history. And I'm like, then why are you selling T-shirts in the damn souvenir store for the Memphis Mad Dogs and the Shreveport Pie? Yeah. I just had a tough time at that time taking direction, Darren. So I guess I did stop talking about it. I'm not sure. Okay, Chad writes in from Lethbridge, Alberta. Chad from the 858.
He says, morning, Moose and Rod, watching live on Game Plus in Lethbridge, Alberta, right now. Okay, thank you. And Rennie Gagnon writes in from the Game Plus studio. Thanks for paying attention more than anything, Rennie. By the way, merci. He says, yes, that Thursday back in February you were on in USA only. Canada had the Copa del Rey. As for the anthems, do we really need them? That's what I said. But I think we've all been swayed that we can't get rid of them. And while we're at it, let's not get rid of grocery store baggers. Let's not get rid of let's not get rid of tellers that give you your money. Darren, I got to stop before I get into more trouble. I'll see you in hour 2. Go have a smoke.
All right.
He
later.
doesn't smoke. I just love saying that every day. We'll be right back here, live on Game Plus, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacroix. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
All right. It's mini overtime. How about that? Whatever we want to call it. How about mini overtime? I love that we got you in on this, Brent from Wellington, Florida. You remember CFL expansion. He's originally from the Queen City. We used to date the same girl. It's a long story. Brent says Canadians should love the expansion. They can wear the "Our Balls Are Bigger" t-shirts again. How about slogans that would not be deemed appropriate in 2025, Alex? Ding!
How about that?
Our balls are bigger. Brent goes on to say, Shreveport, Louisiana is the top of my list of stadium stops. What are you, looking down on it now? B. Henderson in Winnipeg writes, and he says, the booing won't stop until Trump is gone. Once gone, Canadians will sing along with the anthem. Yeah, I don't really want to start I guess I did start a border war here. I didn't mean to do that. But not any one of you or me speaks for all Canadians or all Americans. It is a personal choice kind of thing. Laverne in Swift Current writes in, hey, Laverne, how's Shirley? Laverne says, how about just having the anthem for the home team? Moose suggested that earlier, and that might be the way to go. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, the old fart. He says, hey, Rod, just tuned in. Tell Moose I love his CPKC pullover. I worked for CPR, Canadian Pacific Railway, for 35 years. It looks like the Brier will have some great playoff games this weekend. Matt Dunstone is rated as the #1 team in the event. And he goes on to say the biggest story concerning the Vegas Posse is that Anthony Calvillo was their starting quarterback in 1994. He had a tremendous career in the CFL in the following year. We know that, Gary, but thanks for the history lesson. Speaking of DeBrier, your Heavy Gym sports headline, unbeaten Skips clash in the evening draw at the Brier in Kelowna tonight as Brad Gushu of Team Canada faces Manitoba's Reed Carruthers. Both are at 3-0. Another key matchup sees Manitoba's Matt Dunstone, also 3-0, taking on Northern Ontario's John Epping, who's 2-1. The Brier runs until March 9th. The Toronto Blue Jays look to improve their Grapefruit League record to 6-3 when they play the Detroit Tigers in Lakeland, Florida today. The Jays are coming off a 5-3 win over the Phillies on Sunday. Heavy Gym brings you the sports update. It isn't just about lifting weights. It's about lifting your spirit, your strength, and your potential. Heavy Gym. Step into the gym that's changing lives. Find out more at heavygym.ca. Oh, and by the way, in Landmark Cinemas now, The Monkey. When twin brothers Bill and Hal find their father's old monkey toy in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths start. Starring Tatiana Maslany and Theo James, The Monkey in Landmark Cinemas now. I opted to not go to The Monkey yesterday. I'm going to tell you something. I went to the movie Last Breath. You got to go. You got to go. We're going to talk about it next hour with Moose. And I'm going to straighten my camera here when we come back. In hour 2, stick around, everybody. We'll be right back here on Game Plus and streaming.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
So my brother worked at the wild animal park. So one time my brother came home and he was just rattled. He was spraying down the monkey cages and the gorilla cages with the water. Gorilla reached through, grabbed my brother by the ears and clunk his head against the bars. And my dad's like, "How did you get free?" And my brother goes, "I took the hose and just sprayed him right in the face." Let my brother go.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
We're giving her on a Monday, starting a brand new week, episode 1445 now, if you can believe, here in season 6 of the RP Show. I'm in Florida, where tonight, big NHL game, Panthers and Lightning, Battle of Florida. Moose is in Toronto, where the Leafs are on a run. What do they won, 5 in a row, Moose? They were overtime winners yesterday. We covered that all last hour. We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there, to quote Jerry Reed. I will just throw this out there. I feel a little guilty. I'm a little like Ovi, firing empty netters. I cherry-picked with a poll question today. It very simply is for EMJ marketing. It's what everybody wants to talk about. Should teams and leagues stop playing the national anthem, stop singing the national anthem before games because of all of the ruckus that's fallen out? Mohammed is watching on YouTube. He writes in, he says, honestly, when the U.S. president disrespects Canada, it's fair game to boo. Mohammed says, for people who say keep politics out of sports, know that sports is inherently political. Navy Dawn writes in and he says, the poll today needed a depends on the situation selection. No anthems at all for league games, just for international matches. So here's another thing where we can't all agree. I guess before we turn the page on that, for now, Darren, do you envision a day where they do get rid of it? I'm kind of thinking that they won't, but what do you think?
I could see a day, for sure. I could, but not yet. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. It's too much of part of the fabric of the game and the culture around it. And as the hockey people know, junior hockey in some markets are king for this. the more people you invite to the games for special occasions, the more fans you typically have. So honoring special cultural groups or community groups, different anthem singers they cycle through. Well, they all bring their families, their friends all show up because, I'm singing the anthem tonight. So that all helps get people in the building. They'll keep doing it.
I was smiling. Speaking of junior hockey, our guy Glenn from Medicine Hat, Glenn Erickson, he writes a column for the rodpeterson.com website called 10 WHL Things. Glenn says, we have a couple of generations that need an announcer to remind them to remove their hats for the national anthem. Remember when the guy behind you would just slap it off your head? Message delivered. Oh, now you'd get charged with assault. You just would. So, yeah, times have changed, and I wonder if they're ever going back to the old school ways. The pendulum is for sure coming back because Wayne Gretzky didn't get canceled. There was a time where he would have, I think, this had been a few years ago when they were changing team names and tearing down statues and stuff, but people have realized that went way too far. So it's coming back. How far back? I don't think it would be looked upon favorably if you swatted somebody's hat off their head during the anthem. And trust me, I've thought about it. I've thought about it. I've been in that position. I'm just thinking, I thought better of it. I now think before I do things. I think it comes with age and progressive glasses and orthopedic shoes. What?
No, it's good. It's good. It's called evolution. I like it.
I'm growing. Regarding the game tonight, Randy in Winnipeg writes in, he says, Tampa Bay is on a nice hot streak. Yeah, they're on a heater. It's the Lightning winners of 8 in a row with the Florida Panthers. It's voted, because I have a poll in our Instagram story today, what's the game of the night in the NHL? This one's voted the game of the night that I'll be at here in Sunrise. Seth Jones is making his debut. Dallas product. Hey, Allie, I saw you check in. Allie from Texarkana. All my exes live in Texas. By the way, Allie is the song. You know it. We might as well do our breakaway bets here right now, Moose, if you're down. Rich Sutter coming up in the next segment to talk NHL trade deadline, and then Rachel Homan, 5-time Canadian Women's Curling Championship, going to repeat at Worlds. Straight up, Moose and I are 74-74 in picks in NHL games in the new year. Ottawa at Washington tonight. Who wins in your mind?
Capitals.
That's two of us saying that. The Buffalo Sabres at the Montreal Canadiens.
Ooh, sneaky good game. Weirdly, I'll take Buffalo.
Perfect, because I'm a Hab backer. And that has given me free entry to Montreal and Quebec for life. Islanders at the Rangers, and just so you know, for now, neither team is in a playoff spot. Who do you like?
Give me the Rangers. I think they're going to get in.
That's what everybody's saying, but I don't agree. I'll take the New York Islanders. Patrick Roy is the coach of the Islanders, and Roy is the French translation for king. Oh, the Battle of Florida here, man. Tampa at Florida. I'll go first. Panthers for me. How about you?
I'm going to take the Lightning. They've been rolling.
San Jose Sharks at the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there is a game in Toronto tonight. Who wins, San Jose or Toronto?
I'll take Toronto tonight.
Of course you will. I got it too. And the Los Angeles Kings at the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, Kings for me.
Yeah, times deux. Okay, BW writes in, he's watching while trucking. He says, I'm trucking through Perry Sound. Forgot Bobby Orr was from here. How do you forget where Bobby Orr is from? My guess is you haven't gone and watched the Netflix series Malice at the Palace yet because you haven't been inundated with time. Am I right? You haven't watched Malice at the Palace?
That's right.
Okay, I knew you wouldn't. How could you? It's like a 90-minute show, but it's like Steven Jackson, the NBA player, interviewed within the last year for this series, or within the last 2 years anyways, talking about the cop who was going to mace Reggie Miller because he wasn't playing that night. He was in a suit. The cop was like, "Who are you?" On the court, Steven Jackson's like, "How do you not know who Reggie Miller is? How do you not know where Bobby Orr is from?" Randy from Winnipeg writes in. He says, Bobby Orr called number 99 last week to comfort him. Yeah, are you saying that joshingly, or are you reporting it? Like, Randy, you're a good guy and clearly a smart guy. You watch the show every day, but imagine being canceled in your home country, A, and B, after all Wayne Gretzky's done for Canada, people are trying to cancel him because of this boob, which did Wayne know when he was posing for photos with Trump that he was going to pull this inane crap? Probably not. But anyways, yeah, it's just so sickening, actually, that it has gone this far in my mind with the Gretzky-Trump stuff. Oh, man. That guy Mohammed wrote in and talked about how sports and politics are inherently linked. Are they? Yeah, I know sports is political, but for a different reason. Honestly, I don't see them related at all. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, hey, Rod, he's watching on Game Plus TV. He says, the greatest anthem singer of both Canada and the U.S. was Wayne Mesmer at the old Chicago Stadium. Saw it live on my many visits there. Still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Yeah, maybe. I could sit here and talk about anthem singers for a long time because having worked in sports, I know a lot of them. I didn't know that Rennie Rancourt guy in Boston, but I love that dude. Why'd they make him retire? The guy that used to... Remember before the Bruins games, he'd like wind it up? Right? I'm like, yeah. They need more guys like Rennie Rancourt. Who do you remember as anthem singers?
Not many, to be honest. That's probably the big one. You go to Boston, Vancouver. I'm trying to think of where the iconic anthems came from, but those were the two. But that stood out for me. But no, I remember the anthems, not the anthem singers as much.
You people in Winnipeg, remember Jennifer Hansen? You're welcome. In Sask, we had that guy, Jeff Sawatsky. Remember him? He sang like an opera singer. You must remember that guy, Darren. That was like right in your wheelhouse as a Rider fan.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff
absolutely.
Sawatsky. And then somehow or another, he just went away. That tends to happen.
Quietly.
With a lot of people. Yeah, but he was also a budding photographer, so it's funny because after the 2013 Grey Cup, he gave me a whole bunch of photos. He's like, Rod, do you want my photos? I have nowhere to post these. I'm like, hell yeah. I still use him to this day. Very good photographer. Allie in Texarkana writes in and says, I hate politics more than anything. All sides. John Ohm.
And it's 111.
Hey, BW pointed that out. Says Jennifer Hansen in the red.
Beautiful.
John Ohm says Jennifer Hansen in the red dress. Iconic in Winnipeg. Oh, yeah, baby. It was about 94 Winnipeg Arena. We went out there with the PA Raiders. We were playing the Brandon Wheat Kings in the playoffs because, as usual, Brandon's rink wasn't available. So let's say we played on a Thursday, Saturday, and the Jets were playing on the Wednesday, Friday. So I went to the game, Winnipeg Arena, looking not dissimilar to what I do right now. I remember wearing glasses, wearing a suit, standing right down by the ice with my media pass. Never had been to an NHL game at the Winnipeg Arena before, only watched it on TV. And all of a sudden, they kill the lights, spotlight right where I was standing. Gate flips open. Who comes walking down the rubber mat like Miss America? The aforementioned Jennifer Hansen.
And Darren, she had a fur coat, of course. Took it off, flopped it over my arm. Said, "Can you hold this?" Abba. I held her fur coat while she went out and sang
Wow.
"Oh Canada." Yeah. It was in the spring because it was the playoffs. Not only was it a red dress, John Ohm, red sequins. Rob in Vegas writes in and he says, Roger Doucette, the national anthem singer for the Montreal Canadiens, was a beauty. Pretty much anybody who does or did anything in Montreal is a beauty. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, I had a huge crush on Calgary's Susan Smith. Michael Wynn from Ice Time Sports writes in Winnipeg. He says, red dress. See, Darren, there's one thing about having a little bit of age on you that is a benefit. Remembering things like this.
Yeah.
Rich in Edmonton writes in. He says, I don't agree with Gretzky supporting the orange guy, but is freedom of speech not one of our greatest ideals? It's not like I was a Trump fan before. I'm not. A lot of people thought I was because I'm a right-wing conservative thinker, but no, not a fan. And when I watched that, whatever the hell you want to call it, went on in the Oval Office last week, I wanted to puke, and to be honest, I had a little PTSD as well, because it reminded me of every conversation with a narcissist I've ever had, trying to get something out. You're not holding the cards here. Does that, before we break, does that not remind you of anything you've seen with Jerry Jones, or when Vince McMahon flipped out in the anything you've seen from that? That's that type. Yeah. I'm sorry to politicize this, but what the hell? Everybody else is talking about it.
No, I know. You're right. It's not good. At the end of the day, it's not good. Hard to spin. But usually in those situations, it's not about which side you're on. It's about everybody's in the wrong in that situation. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think J.D. Vance exacerbated the situation. He would have got the 2 minutes for instigating plus 10 had it been doled out by Wes McGauley. Ron in Calgary writes in and says, morning, Rod and Moose. Sports and politics have been tied together for decades. Just think about the 70s. I forget which year the team left the ice against the Russians. I think it was 1976, but just because it's been going on forever doesn't make it right. It does not make it, or doesn't mean that we have to like it. This is pure ugliness. This is ugliness. This is not good for anybody. If anything, sure, it piqued a lot of interest in the four nations. There's no doubt. Would as many people around here in the southern U.S. cared about it if not for the booing and all the stuff that hit the news? We'll never know. We'll never know. But I don't feel like being thankful for it. Okay, Moose, you're done. You have a great afternoon, sir.
All right. You bet. You have a good day, too.
We're going to talk NHL trade deadline when we come back with NHL analyst, 13-year veteran Rich Sutter. Rachel Homan on the way here in hour two as well, five-time Canadian women's curling champion. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are.
This experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to World Championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out their website for more information at emjmarketing.com. 6 games in the NHL tonight. Dare I say the biggest is here in South Florida. The Panthers are home to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa's won 8 in a row, and Seth Jones will make his Florida Panthers debut 2 days after being acquired from the Chicago Blackhawks. And we welcome in alum of both the Lightning and the Blackhawks, Rich Sutter, joining us today from Lethbridge, Alberta. How you doing, Richie?
Good. How are you, bud?
Good. Good to talk with you. A 13-year NHL veteran hockey man. I'm going to throw this to you because I've had so many Panthers fans say to me, is this a good deal for the Panthers? How are you answering that?
Well, I'm just look. Obviously, they've got something to figure out with Aaron Ekblad as part. That's the reason why this deal was done. I mean, Billy can say what he wants, all he wants, but somewhere back in on the burner there, that where is Aaron Ekblad going to play into this if he plays into it all in terms of does he stay or does he go? Do you let him go or let him walk free agency in the summertime, or you try and find a way to sign him? But if you do that, then where are you finding room? And that being said, you need 8 or 9 defensemen minimum to win a Stanley Cup, and Aaron Ekblad has to be involved in that group too. So there's this going on, with the balls right now. What are you going to do? And Seth Jones can be an important part of that group. There's no doubt. It's how hard is Seth Jones going to want to play when the chips are down too? Because I've had Seth. I had him in Columbus. Billy knows him just as well. So does Gregory Campbell. But it was concerning just the way he left Chicago. Let's call a spade here. I mean, if you're a professional hockey player and if you're a Nick Plato in that group, who was also a teammate with Seth in Columbus, I don't think that would have went over very well about how that was handled. Either it was handled and or together individually by Seth and the Blackhawk group or whatever was done. But to come out and say that, you know, you want to move on, I get it. But you're also the guy that wanted to leave Columbus too, sign somewhere else for more money. And then to come out and the way it came out, especially the game after he came out publicly, and it was about, you know, he's possibly moving on, but I'll be everything I can while I'm here. But then they go into, I think it was Utah, and get routed pretty good that night. And for him to go out to the media after the game about, you know, about how guys aren't doing this, how guys aren't doing that. Well, to me as a teammate, I would have been pissed off because you've already got one foot out the door yourself. Well, you shouldn't be talking about the media about how whether or not how hard your teammates are playing, because, you know, look in the mirror, you know, yourself too. So there's concerns. I mean, he's got huge upside potential to help a club win a Stanley Cup, but there's concerns about when you go about doing your business around how you do your business at $9 million a year. I don't think that gives you a right to speak the way you spoke, definitely. But you better walk in that dressing room and check your humbleness and your ego at the door.
You watch enough of these Panthers games, you know how the team's built. The one thing I'm hearing from the Chicago people is that if he's not asked to be a leader like he was in Chicago, because he's not going to be asked to do that here, it might be a good fit. Do you go along with that?
Well, I think you to some degree you can say that, Rod, but you know, when you're getting paid $9 million a year, you can't escape that number. That's attached to your jersey and to your nameplate everywhere you go. So if you're making $9 million a year, you're not just another player on the hockey team just asked just to go and do your business. You're going to be looked upon to do certain things, and one of those things is to be a leader. And can you be that leader? And really, are you that leader? And so there's going to be some internal pressure there put on him, whether he likes it or not. Look, the Sam Bennetts of the world, the Barkovs of the world, the Sam Reinharts, the Matthew Tkachuks, these guys are all leaders. And I'm sure he'll get on page with them awfully quick because he's definitely an incredible talent. I mean, not many guys in the game can be as big as him, can skate as well as he can move pucks like he can, and just do a lot of things. And for me, add that guy to your top four. He's a minute muncher. And add that guy to your top four. I kind of laughed. I read an article yesterday about, it was some guy in Canada who were talking about how these other guys are only going to play 8 to 10 minutes a night the rest of the year. Well, the guy wrote that article about saying that third pairing is going to play 8 to 10 minutes. I find that hard to believe too, because look, you're going to need a whole lot of defensemen to win a Stanley Cup. And as hard as the Panthers like to play, and how Paul likes those guys to play, you're going to need players, and you're going to need guys to play minutes. So, look, I hope they can get this going now. Like, Bill's always been good at making deals before the deadline, and maybe just tweaking at the deadline. So he's done his deal. I think this is exactly what they did need in terms of adding that guy who can play in the top 4 or 5 in the back end. And now hopefully they can move forward with their group.
I talked to Joe Bull this morning. I asked him to come on this week, and he's like, let's wait until after the deadline because it's going to be wild. So how wild do you think it's going to get, Rich?
You know, this is the first time, I think, in a long time. It's kind of funny. We talk every year, Rod, and you and I have talked off there about this, is that when it comes to trading deadline and who makes the playoffs and who doesn't when it's all said and done, how many good teams don't make the playoffs? There's always a real 4 or 5 real good ones that don't make it, but there's 4 or 5 that have no right making it or even being in the conversation, so they're out. But that being said, this is the first time I really believe in a while that, look, there's a number of teams that are right there. And it's just a matter of what can they do? How can they make things fit? I think you're going to look more at hockey trades more than ever at this trading deadline, because the cap is moving forward starting next year. So I think you're going to look just at hockey trades because how close teams are to being right on the bubble of making it. And you're not, obviously you got to make a trade to make it fit within both teams' caps. But I think this is going to be a year more than ever where you're gonna have to try and make a trade that it's not about the cap first and foremost. It's about, can this guy move the needle in your locker room to make a difference to get you into the playoffs?
Well, 25 teams are either in a playoff spot or within 4 points of a playoff spot. So statistically, what you're saying, that's all true. There hasn't been this many teams in contention this late ever. So that's pretty cool. But it's also a little confusing for people that aren't following that closely, Rich. Like Mikko Rantanen is available. They just got him. What's your read on that situation in Carolina?
I think there's a lot of people around the league paying a lot of very close attention to it. I'm sure there's a number of GMs that are calling to see what it's going to take to Eric Tulsky there. And obviously there's a lot of teams that are calling. Like, you got to do your diligence. That's your job, is to make that call and say, okay, what's this going to take? Even though you probably think that your chances are slim and none. But I think your responsibility to your group and to your organization is you got to make that call. I think there'll be a number of teams. I'm sure there has been a number of teams that have made that call already. But he seems to certainly not be in any hurry to make a decision. Carolina, I think, has fallen back a little bit. No, they're not playing as well, or I thought they'd be where they are today where they are today, even with Ratton in there. So there is a concern. I want to see them win. I want to see them do well. But when I look at this, I go, well, he's not signed yet, and he's taking his old darn time about it. What is he really thinking? Because I think if you wanted to really play in Carolina, and if the numbers are there that everyone is saying there in terms of dollars, what are you waiting for? And you got to wonder if you're a GM and you've made this big deal, can you afford to sit and wait and say, okay, now the deadline's passed, we did doing about it, and he's not signed. Now what? Come July 1. So I think they're in an awful tough spot. I think they've got to force the issue a little bit here in the next couple days to see where are you at. And if nothing's happening, I'm sure the phones are going to be going 24/7 trying to figure out what can we do to get something in place.
Randy who is it here? Yeah, Randy writes in, he goes, apparently teams are waiting for their next 2 games before deciding on being a buyer or a seller. Where, when, and why did it change, Rich, to not go into the last day? Teams getting their deals done ahead of time.
I think because there's a lot of situations, honestly, Rod, where more people get their fingers in the jar in the last 24 to 48 hours. So it becomes a little more frenetic. Becomes a little bit more, the stakes, I think, obviously go up because you get another team involved, and then you get another team involved. Now the stakes go up in terms of what it's going to cost. And I believe that's why teams are doing things a little bit earlier. I know that's what Billy's doing in Florida, and I give him kudos to him for doing it, because to me, that is just smart. And it's less stress, I think, on the group come trade deadline day. It's less stress on your staff to, what do we got to do to make this better? Can we make it better? I'm sure you're going to put the feelers out and see what you can do always, like Bill will still be doing. But at the end of the day, to get the burden off your shoulders in terms of getting the heavy work done early, I think is a very wise thing.
Yeah, and you're seeing it in all leagues, and teams that wait to the last minute, especially with signing guys in the offseason, letting you get into camp, are the teams that are tanking. So you should be working ahead and planning ahead. Any last thoughts? What's else on you? We got 3 minutes left here. You can cover a lot in 3 minutes. What else is on your mind hockey-wise right now? Hang on. Sorry. Control Dog writes that he's asked multiple times if you could give your take on Connor Bedard's situation in Chicago. He's asking about Connor's future, but he's not going anywhere. How do you feel about Connor Bedard's status in Chicago?
Well, he's going nowhere, but I think the onus is, they fired a good coach because they didn't think they were doing enough as a group, but I think the onus has to fall back on on the guy that's making the personnel decisions around there, and you know who that is in the GM. So I just think that they have not done very much to help Connor Bedard move forward, and to me that's very disappointing. I believe that you ask a lot of people around the league, they'd say the same thing, that like it's difficult for a guy like Nick Foligno to come in there and hold Connor Bedard's hand, because he knows he's not having to do that. But when you look around at the support group, what have you got? You've got a lot of other good young players around you, but you need guys that played 5, 6, 8, 10 years in the league that are bona fide players that can help you get through a lot of these tough times and help sledge through some of the stuff that Connor's having to go through. And there's just not enough of that there.
No, and dwindling. Taylor Hall, gone. Seth Jones, gone. I'm not saying what kind of team guys they are, but they're bona fide players, as you just said. And there's not a lot of those around there. Rich, listen, I would love to go on, but Rachel Homan is coming in next, and I like her.
Good for Rachel.
So.
Thank you very much. You can guys pick me up, and we'll be following her and cheering her on.
Okay, I will. She's probably watching right now, for sure. Richie, thanks for this. Great job, man. Good seeing you.
Talk soon.
A member of hockey's first family, Rich Sutter. A member of curling's first family in next, Rachel Homan, 5-time Canadian women's champion. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcast.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpeterson.com. Hey, Clark has said we are awaiting Rachel Homan dropping in, logging in. So here is some news from the NFL. Matthew Stafford chose to stay in Los Angeles. Deebo Samuel was sent to Washington. Many NFL players will be on the move when free agency begins next week, and the foundation for a lot of transactions was formed at the scouting combine last week, while 329 college prospects gathered in Indy to showcase their skills, talk to teams, and undergo medical evaluations. Front office executives had plenty of conversations about players on their rosters and others they plan to pursue either through free agency or trade. There was a ton of buzz in Indy about several star players, including Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Myles Garrett. Not that you care, but this morning on all the sports channels across the U.S., it was all about football, all about the NFL. Here, we like to talk about everything, and that we might as well just get it, read it here. Here's the news, and hopefully it'll coincide with Rachel joining us. Rachel Homan's dominance of women's curling continued with a 6-1 win over Manitoba's Carrie Anderson to win the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Homan skipped a team, or does skip a team, ranked number 1 in both Canada and the world. And not only did her Ottawa Curling Club foursome claim back-to-back Canadian championships, but also went undefeated in the tournament a second straight year, which no other team has ever done. And Rachel was the first player with 100% shooting accuracy in a Hearts final that was low scoring but entertaining until Anderson gave up 4 stolen points in ends 7 through 9 and shook hands. Homan, Tracy Fleury, second Emma Miskew, and lead Sarah Wilkes will attempt a repeat as world champions March 15th to the 23rd in South Korea. After taking last year's world title in Sydney, Nova Scotia, they also earned a trip back to the Scotties next year in Mississauga and $100,000 in prize money. So that is the story. And producer Clark telling me before we came out of this break here that Rachel confirmed this time to be with us on the program today. So if we don't get her, that would be most unfortunate. But I know that we'll be getting her by the end of the week. Randy from Winnipeg writes in and says, Rachel, the GOAT of women's curling. It just sounds so inappropriate when we're talking about female athletes, doesn't it? Although she's probably fine with it because she's so ultra competitive. You know, it's appropriate, I guess, that we're on this theme or topic today. We certainly were in hour 1 about anthem singers, and that's actually the poll question today. Should teams and leagues stop playing the anthem before games? There you go. It's fluctuating all over hell. 73%. First thing this morning said, no, they shouldn't get rid of it. And then it swung to 57% saying, yes, they should. The reason I'm bringing this up now, Randy in Winnipeg referred to Rachel Homan as the GOAT of women's curling. For those that don't know, GOAT, greatest of all time. But we had this anthem singer in Regina, and maybe, Clark, you tell me if you still do, Tegan Littlechief. She did so many games that I broadcasted the Pats and the Rough Riders, and every time she sang the anthem, our teams won. So the teams couldn't wait to get Tegan Littlechief in to sing the national anthem because she was the good luck charm. So I said on the air, on Twitter or something, I said, she's the Kate Smith of Saskatchewan national anthem singers. And then she looked up Kate Smith, and she wasn't that impressed. She didn't know.
The reason Kate Smith came to popularity in Philadelphia was because the Flyers always won when she sang God Bless America. But they just didn't make the connection. By the way, speaking of the GOAT, it's in this story here somewhere. An Olympic trials berth was also the reward for Rachel Homan last week in Thunder Bay. But she already has one after her 2024 victory in Calgary at the trials there. Her prior Hearts championship. It has the total number of Scotties here. And I thought we were talking about this earlier. She's got 5. Colleen Jones has 6. Here it is. Homan and MMSQ collected the 5th Canadian curling crowns of their careers behind Jennifer Jones, Jill Officer, and Colleen Jones with 6. And we just had Jill Officer on last month talking about this, among other things, and promoting her curling camp in Moose Jaw, which has since gone past. I think it was like minus 57 when they had it, and they packed the thing. What's really kind of funny about this show today, and I probably should get to it. Do you have any sign of her, Rachel Homan, logging in, by the way, Clark? Nothing from her? Okay, I'll tell a quick story. I'll try and wrap this story up fast. Then we'll take a commercial break and come back for a longer overtime. And if Rachel Homan joins us, she does. If she doesn't, she doesn't. She's been on with us many times. I don't think she's mad at us. But we did a banquet together in Paradise Hill, Saskatchewan. Me, her, Brian Sutter, Daryl Sutter, and Buddy Bensmiller. Rich Sutter was not there. But on the microphone, I got into a spat with Daryl Sutter because, frankly, I'd had enough. Everybody talks about how there's 2 sides to Daryl Sutter, and he's such a great guy. I'm like, well, I've never seen it. And just so you know what instigated it was, we started doing this interview, and Daryl was like, oh, you're a media guy. Well, I hate all media. And I said, wow, what a coincidence. I hate all coaches. And he just gave me that look. And I'm like, I said, if you're going to be an asshole to me, I'm going to be an asshole to you. Which in retrospect's probably not the way to go about it, but I didn't feel like taking it that night. And by the way, it went downhill from there. Daryl and I don't get offended. I don't care. But the next day, Rich Sutter, who you just saw, called me. He's like, what the hell happened between you and Daryl last night? This is exactly what happened last night. And Rachel said to me as we were walking out of the hall, she's like, I was on your side, but I was afraid to say anything. I didn't want to piss Daryl off. I don't care. I've been yelled at by my whole life. I don't care what he has to say. Anyways, we could get into that and a few other things. We'll see. It was a great time in Paradise Hill, Saskatchewan, and I think that was the night Don Cherry got fired. The final, I'm positive it was. We'll be right back with Overtime, everybody. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcasting, wherever the best podcasts are.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, so here we are for overtime. Saddle up. By the way, are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Man, I can't get over how popular this show is in Calgary, and with our wonderful sponsors out there. Anyways, if you're looking to perfect your shot, look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Cowtown. State-of-the-art equipment, spacious shooting lanes, licensed bar for the adults, you name it. Best thing, I would say, team building sessions, but also office parties. You name it, they can handle it all. Randy and Michelle, tell them the RP Show sent you. Check out their website at overtimehl.ca. Clark tells me there will be no Rachel Homan appearance today. Malfunction at the junction. Ron writes in on the Progressive Insurance text line. Switch to Progressive and you could save a bunch. Ron in Calgary says, hey, Rod, great interview with Rich Sutter. Good old Alberta boy. He actually said Brian Sutter, but it was Rich. Those guys will be confused for each other until they're in the ground, and probably even after that. Rob in Edmonton writes in. He says, good morning, Rod. Canada West men's hockey update. MRU Cougars, my alma mater, defeated the Alberta Golden Bears 2-1 and advanced to the Canada West finals to play the U of S Huskies, who defeated UBC. Thank you, Rob. Rick Roberts is a new viewer. We appreciate him. Rick from Hardisty, Alberta, writes in and says, anthem singer Roger Doucette. One of my co-workers from Saskatchewan would throw his shoe at the TV when Roger sang in French. Yeah, a Western thing. No doubt. We were talking about anthem singers, and that is the poll question today. Should teams and leagues stop playing the anthems? It's brought to you by EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's
keynote speakers. Check out their roster at emjmarketing.com. Well, we've come a long way today because I came on the air saying they should get rid of the anthems and all this silliness that's going on, which is, as a matter of fact, it's part of our sports update here. But I was convinced by Darren and actually some anthem singers that called in or wrote in that said, no, okay. From the Heavy Gym Sports Update, Canadian soccer fans booed the U.S. national anthem before last night's Whitecaps match against the LA Galaxy in Vancouver. It echoed protests seen at hockey and basketball games last month. The jeers followed U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threats and remarks about Canada as a 51st state. Despite a pregame appeal for respect, the boos faded only when O Canada began. The interesting thing about all that is, where are we on the, you pay your money for your ticket, you can do whatever you want. You can't throw things at the players. Profanity is discouraged. But sort of like if you want to boo the anthem, that is kind of up to you. Yeah, the whole thing is just weird. And what weird. You know, this all came in with COVID and it never left. We just can't figure out people and things and weird. B. Henderson writes in, he says, Chevy and the Jets could and should stand pat at the deadline, but then you get those whiny biatches who will say, why didn't Chevy do this? This team is great as is. And, you know, I should have asked Rich Sutter about that, but I'm pretty sure Rich would have agreed with you. What literally do they need? My only worry for Winnipeg is that they're going to burn out. They're going to burn out. Because I'll tell you something. A year ago, Paul Maurice here in South Florida was resting guys, playing his backup goalie a lot, more than he would have normally, to get ready for the playoffs. And it triggered a losing streak down the stretch. And he was under a lot of heat here. And there is no heat here from the fans. You try doing that in Winnipeg, oh my God, they'd burn the rink down. There's a difference in the two markets, different way to do things. See, Rich in Edmonton says, I think dead silence at the end would be more effective. Just my take. Oh, of the anthems? Have we realized, though, that we're never going to get everybody on the same page ever? Ever. Some are going to boo, some are going to cheer, some are going to be quiet. It's the way that it is. I always laughed at those gas boycotts that we used to do, 20 years ago in Canada. Don't go to Shell on this day, and that'll make them lower the price of gas. Oh, okay. Big campaigns on the radio, and even that was before social media. Supper news, and then we would drive by and lined up for a block to get in there for gas. You can't. Bill Edwards is watching in Regina. He says, good morning, crew. Great morning here in Regina. Kate Smith was the best for her team. Yeah, but as I say, Tegan Little, Chief, with the Pats and Riders, we never lost when she sang. Are the Jets playing tonight? No, they're not. John Ohm says, no rest for the wicked, Rod. Go, Jets, go. Well, they're resting tonight. Here's one. Not that any of you would care, but you're watching the Rod Pedersen show, so you must care a little bit. Here, for the U.S. national anthem, when they sing Red, the whole crowd goes, Red, for the Panthers. And then when they say Night, the whole crowd goes, Night, for Spencer Knight, who was traded to Chicago on Saturday. This is their first game since. They got Tampa Bay in there tonight. And we're all kind of wondering how many will say Night, not realizing why they're even saying it. Which kind of rounds this all into form in that people are booing because they think that it's the thing to do. Scott in Moose Jaw writes in and says, it's called the Trump effect. And you know what? That is also the thing. people are going to do what they want to do. They feel disrespected by the U.S. president, so they're going to boo the U.S. national anthem. In that regard, I just know U.S. friends of mine, for instance, football guys that are in the CFL, living in Canada, they feel disrespected by people booing their anthem because they're like, what do we do? Allie in Texarkana says, we do Star for Dallas. Yeah, it's cool. I feel bad for Edmonton because they don't have anything like that. John writes in and says, best anthem singer? We covered it, John. Jennifer Hansen. I held her coat in 1993. That is a true story. Progressive Insurance text line 902-518-3033. Switch to Progressive and you could save a bunch. I read them all on there. 90 seconds, Clarks. I did not tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to get to the movie Last Breath. I guess we did talk about it a little bit last hour. I wanted to get into it more with Moose. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. But it's in my column. Go to rodpeterson.com today, and you will see my thoughts on that little review from Landmark Cinemas. Woody Harrelson does it again. He's a nearly retiring deep-sea diver that works on pipelines off the coast of Scotland. And going out on his last ever dive, they lose a diver. The umbilical cord, literally they call it the umbilical cord, attaching that diver to the boat, let's just say, snaps. And the diver, it's a true story. Oh, my God. And by the way, welcome to Florida, where the 11:20 a.m. movie is packed. John says, Joker 2 yet, Rod? They pulled that out of the theaters before I even had a chance to see it. But I will tell you, go to Last Breath. Oh, and Allie writes in about the Oscars. I didn't even know that Kelly Olynyk's not playing for the Raptors anymore. Don't get me going about the Oscars. See you tomorrow.
McFly, hello.